Thank you for staying with us. Let's start today's discussion with how to improve electoral process and deepen democracy in Nigeria. Worried by the low turnout of voters during elections, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, is proposing a constitutional amendment that will make it a duty rather than a right for Nigerians to vote. Fashola, who was reacting to impressive rates of permanent voter card collection by eligible voters, said more needed to be done to motivate Nigerians to get involved in the elections and vote representatives of the choice into elective office. But the former Lagos State governor insisted that it is not a hopeless situation for the country, as democracy is a process. Emeka, I just posted something on my page now, and I saw the updates, and quite impressive, Emeka, quite impressive what I saw. And the level of awareness is, is almost unprecedented. Now, for the Southeast, before now, the Southeast used to have 9.4 million registered voters. But the situation right now is that what we have now is that Southeast, 9 million plus, Southwest, 14 million, South-South, 12 million, Northeast, 11 million, Northwest, that's the biggest so far, 19 million. Now, North Central, 13 million. So, but the total in the South is 36 million. And the total for the Northern state is 44 million. I'm quoting from this document released by Yaga Africa. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari emerged with 15 million votes. And I think the runner-up had 12 million plus, yes, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this impressive, collection of PVC, it's showing something, it's saying something ahead of 2023. But the minister is telling us that we should be able to take it a notch higher by legislating upon it to make sure that it's binding. People, should come out.
It should be a duty, not a right. Yeah, well, just the same issue, just like it's just moving further from what rights are guaranteed in the Constitution, and then further duties arising from those rights are expected of citizens. So it's the right of the citizen to vote, and it is implied that it's a duty for the citizen to participate in electioneering and in voting. But I think the major problem doesn't have to do with legislating, but with sensitization. Because honestly, the people have lost faith in their leaders. There's pervasive corruption, insecurity, so many things that will discourage the people. And the people say, well, our votes don't count.
I thought we've left that era.
No, but there are people who still say it. There are people who still say, no, I'm building up to this. Now, people say, but you see, awareness, sensitization by candidates, by political parties, have raised the tempo. Now, INEC, that's supposed to be the job of INEC. I know the political parties also have a duty, but INEC is supposed to be engaged in continuous voter sensitization because the continuous voter registration exercise. But I wonder why INEC usually waits until it's time for an election and then begins to ramp up activities towards in respect of voter registration. So I think INEC should sit up and not just busy itself with conducting elections and appearing at the election tribunals, but to make sure that it sits with political parties, throws out jingles, even in working with the National Orientation Agency. Because I don't know. That agency, I don't even know if it's still in existence.
Not well funded.
Yes.
Now, look at, in 2019, we had 7.3 million registered voters in Lagos. But the people that participated in the governorship exercise wasn't up to 2 million. As in people that decided who became the governor of Lagos State and everything. Now, BRF is seeking for a legislation that not even collecting that PVC that matters now, but voting on election day. Not to collect PVC alone and to sit down at home on election day, but to make a legislation to back, to legitimize voting.
I think that will be about the first, if we do it.
In the world, Abi?
Because worldwide, like the figures we presented on this program not too long ago, voting in terms of numbers has dropped worldwide. Yeah. Even in the US, there is this apathy that has come to attend to elections worldwide. And Nigeria is not alone. Like Emeka said, a lot of factors account for this in Nigeria. And one of them will be what he mentioned, what do our leaders do for us? Yeah. Even when
who government help?
Government help. Number two is, will the votes count? Number three, for me, the violence that we have seen attending our past elections, where people come out to vote, and while voting is on, some people come armed, some people die, and that's the end of it. I think, contrary to what Emeka said, INEC has been doing a good job in terms of engaging people, publicity. We may say it is not enough. We may request for more. But in terms of what its mandate says, that institution has done a lot. Whether it is in the newspaper, it is online, it is engaging day to day. It is providing statistics virtually every day on its website. This so number of people have registered. If you have now they are saying they have, I think, over 9 million PVCs uncollected, ready. But people are not collecting them. And now it's responding as it should when there's a complaint here.
We have almost 80 million people that will participate in the exercise now, compared to what we used to have before.
So what will I say in this case has accounted for this interest? It's ethnicity, purely. That's why we have this rise in consciousness that we believe has come about. Because people are now saying, see, it is going to be to thy tent, O Israel, if we are not careful with this election. So what we are going to see will be Southeasterners voting for the Southeastern person.
I've had this kind of discussion with the maker before, earlier this week.
Yeah, I don't agree with people in the Southwest saying, this is our local, and staying with their own. And those who believe that
the status quo should,
the North should still be there will go for the North. But this is quite injurious to our polity. Why do I say so? When you look at the people who are coming out now to encourage people to go out for their PVC, you begin to see their tilt. The man who is from the Southeast comes out and says, be obedient. Go and collect your PVC. The man from the Southwest says, our local, go and collect your PVC. And it goes on and on. That's a major factor that is pushing this. But even at that, if that factor is there, we should be able to guarantee people who are eager now to register, to also ensure that they are able to vote. Because that is what we are talking about. When we look at all the statistics and we say we have about 80 million voters, people eligible to vote, and what we have at the end of an exercise less than 30 million, it's poor. Though high when we compare it to other countries. But for a Nigeria that is seeking salvation, that is seeking rejuvenation, that wants a lot of things to happen, we shouldn't allow that to be.
Jide, do you think this will be taking it a notch higher if we are to legislate on voting to make it something that is binding, legally binding, instead of just right?
I don't see how voting can be made compulsory. How would you make voting compulsory? People who vote, sometimes when they look at the candidates that are in the race, if you cannot find any of those candidates good enough to earn your vote, you stay away from voting. There's nowhere that people are forced to go and vote. I've never seen such a country. And that doesn't stop people from coming out to vote. Generally, to have more than 50% come out on election day to vote is unusual across the world. But when the stakes are very high, like we had during the US presidential election, we saw unprecedented numbers. Americans came out in large numbers. Everyone was determined to protect his position. Those who wanted Trump to continue, they were very fanatical about him. They were ready to give their all. And those who didn't want him to win also saw it as a life and death affair. So we saw a very close US election, closer than previous elections, and the turnouts were extremely impressive. The turnout was very, very impressive.
Massive.
So sometimes the kind of people on the ballot determines voter behavior. I mean, if people do not see, if the people on the ballot do not inspire confidence, people are not going to waste their time to vote. That's the normal thing. You can't force people to vote.
But
You
Jide,
can't force.
I
There's no
discovered
way that people are forced to vote.
Jide, I discovered
Okay.
that
Yeah.
it's not this our case now. A lot of people
Yes.
are going to pick up the PVC, but it's not a guarantee on election day that they will vote.
That they will come out.
Eh,
There's no guarantee that they will come out. Look, before the 2019 election, you saw how many millions of people registered to vote in Lagos State. Lagos and Kano were the highest in our country. But it didn't stop voter turnout in Akwa Ibom from being higher than that of Lagos. This is the point that we are making. In some places, the political culture, the political education is greater. So they find it easier to mobilize people to come out and vote. But it's not the same across our country. Delta State will record higher votes than Lagos. Whereas the number of people registered to vote in Lagos is much higher than Delta. River State will record higher votes than Lagos, whereas the number of registered voters in Lagos is a lot higher than River State. So that people are trooping to collect PVCs may not necessarily translate to a huge turnout on election day, as we have seen with Lagos.
okay.
Because if more than 6 million people registered, in Lagos, why are we having a situation in which the totality of the votes cast is not even up to 1 million?
1 million.
So there is a lot that parties can do. Parties have the greater responsibility to mobilize their members, get them to come out on election day, mobilize them, encourage them to register, and then get them to come out on election day. That the register is just one part of the job. To come out on election day is the icing of the cake. And that is the bigger problem. Most people prefer to stay away on election day. Some will play football on election day. Some use the PVC simply as a means of identification to collect money in banks and all that. Some hold on to the PVC because they believe that with it, politicians will pay them on election day. So people collect PVCs for different reasons.
All right.